Right. Welcome one, welcome all. I have some different news today. Um, the EVs. EVs are scrapped. Okay, the deal is here. I'm going to read one of my blurbs, and there has to be a correction on the original because I thought it was conservative MPs that were asking for strychnine to come back. However, it was MPs from Alberta and Saskatchewan, so provincial ones. I wasn't aware of that. Had to do a correction for the first time. So I apologize to the Conservative Party with the one picture that I put. It's a funny picture nonetheless, right? The Conservative Party doesn't have a line of bringing back poisons. So, okay, here. First of all, breaking news. Prime Minister Carney kicks out the EV mandate, plus mass cop arrests and more. So, number one, Prime Minister Carney, Mark Carney, decided to reverse the 60% of all new cars to be electric by 2030. 60%. And 100% by 2035. Wow. Welcome one, welcome all. Like, subscribe, and comment. And so that's the first one. I'm going to discuss about what this block is doing in a second. One. Instead, all folks will receive $5,000 when they buy a electric battery, buy electric EVs, and $2,500 for a hybrid. So instead of a tax or whatever on these companies, it's an incentive, and that's the better way that they know. I was just listening to Jon Stewart, and he had this behavioral scientists on there, and he basically said incentives are always better than tax because no one likes a tax. The program received furious anger from car manufacturers as they said it incentivized imports over Canadian-made vehicles. And that was the biggest part of the program. It was like, we can't convert all of our plants over fast enough. Do you want this? Or we won't. No one's buying it. And basically, it incentivized imports, which is just nuts. The unions, Volpe, I don't know, or obviously, but he's. I heard him, just a quick snippet of him, and he's excited. I heard him, like, his tone was a little bit happier than normal, and he's one of the tough union guys. He's the last of a dying breed, the tough union guy. Like I said, I don't know. MP Anita Anand is donning her Canada Goose jacket, and flying to Greenland. Nook, nook, nook. And the Three Stooges are rumored to be on board. Nuuk is the capital of Greenland. There's about 49,000 people. Don't quote me, but it's about that. It's about a small town. And that's like pretty much Greenland. She's going there to open up a Canadian consulate. And I pray that the USA is happy about this as well. Anita Anand was in Washington, I guess, speaking with Marco Rubio about the critical minerals plan that he's forefronting. And they took some pictures, and so they did speak. So I'm sure that America's aware of it. They're not going to be blindsided by it. I think it'll be a good thing to have Canada there. I heard the lease is going through, but if the lease goes through and Greenland becomes American, it will be to help smooth things to have Canadians to decipher what the Americans are saying. You know what I mean? I think that's a good idea. I think France and a bunch of other countries are putting consulates there. I think that's a good thing. It's been neglected and forgotten about in Greenland, and there's rumored that there's something there. Superman movie. Number 3. Toronto cops arrested in the tow truck wars. Okay, no one's saying it's the tow truck wars, but me. So that's just bull. We don't know. Okay, so 7 cops and 1 retired cop are arrested by their order, SIU, for leaking residences of people to hitmen, women, right? We got to be fair. It could be women as well. It's a modern age, folks. And conspiracy to commit murder on one of their own. Apparently, there's this one guy who worked at a detention center, and they were conspiring to take out one of their own. I really don't mind criminals too much. You know what I mean? Especially when they make themselves known. right? You're like, don't go in that place. It's either I don't have a problem with it. They keep to themselves, to each their own. I don't have a problem with cops. They do their job. But when I see cops crossing the line, that is the worst of the worst, because a police officer has the most potential and easiest way to commit. First of all, they know the law. They know their ins and outs. SIU doesn't do too much against them. So they're really breaching a trust, and it does a lot more harm than that criminal guy selling dope to kids or whatever, you know what I mean, out of a bar, right? That is less crime to me than a cop who's dirty. And I think this is awful. Like, you got to look at CBC is doing a really good job, because I don't think they naturally are antithetical to officers. So they're loving it down there, and they're doing a really good job reporting for once. I got to hand it to them. It's like the feed is going, and they've named names. And I want to do a correction at this. Those individuals, I think their story of why they were doing it. The 4 individuals that were arrested for having explosive stuff, their story sounds pretty good. They said, we're answering the call to the military and NATO that asked us to help make a drone. And they said, we're making an anti-drone system. And so what they did is they basically were like a mechanic working out of their garage in suburbia. They were bringing harmful chemicals and bad stuff, right, into suburbia. And that's the way I see it. If their defense is true, they could be lying. And it looks like they're all Canadian, you know what I mean? So all of that was a bit of, I kind of exploded a little bit. And others did as well. So I'm going to carry on with this one. There are rumors that this is just the start of the purge of these police officers. And one thinks the last SIU, you know what? The last SIU bust was decades ago, when a few cops, they lied on a report and they stole from drug dealers. I guess they did they arrested some guy, confiscated their stuff, and then didn't write it down. So they stole from a drug dealer. That's kind of stuff you expect from cops, from dirty cops. But this stuff, tracking people down, selling drugs, all this is like the worst of the worst type of criminal, except they were wearing a badge. And it's all across Toronto area. And they saying, like I said, the start. Basically what happened when Toronto moves, right? Toronto is the head of police departments in Canada. And another note, Bill Blair just retired, and he's leaving the country. He just retired from being an MP, and he's now in the UK as a UK consul. He's got one of the best jobs in the world now, I think. So I'm going to repeat. SIU bust was decades ago, when a few cops lied on reports and stole from dealers. ... Oh, how the times have changed, laments Bob Dylan and the rest of Canada. Yes, Canada can't get the tow truckers under control. Never mind the Fenty crisis. Need I say bigger budgets? I think that needs to be a bigger budget on the SIU, and they need to have a roving thing to fix this in Canada. You can't have a country where police officers are going down for taking out some of their own. So the cop probably was most likely, I'm thinking he was a really good cop and very effective at his job, and they were going to take him out. Imagine? Like, what country? This stuff happens all the time in Colombia and Venezuela, countries like that. And that's why they're countries like that. There's a rich, there's a poor, there's no middle class, because you can't get under from the rock when you're poor. You can't, because there's no one there to help you. The difference, I talked to a lot of guys when I was overseas, and they said, I go, why do you want to come to Canada? You got money here. Good. He's like, you know what, man? I goes, if I have a problem with the local, he's not even talking about local, international gang. He says, if I have a problem with the local gang, I can't do anything. He goes, I have to hire my own security and take out the gangs. And then he's like, I'm like, oh. He goes, in Canada, my family say I don't have to worry about that. And now I don't think it's rampant. I hope. But I do think it's rampant, but I don't think it's up to, I think we're at it's at this, it's down here. You know what I mean? Where in other countries it's there, and it's a problem because it's even here. My opinion, I don't need nothing. I just, let the criminals be criminals, let the cops be cops. But when a cop who's doing this stuff, I think they got to go away for a long time. Lady Chow, mayor of Toronto, she's livid. She's going off the handle. like it's 1999. Um, I'm not going to mention number 4. You can read it in the comments because I really don't. I'm not. I think I'm not going to put it on it because it's YouTube and we got to keep it nicer. Read it in the side. The U.S. is importing number 5. U.S. is importing record barrels of Venezuelan oil. And it's the same process as Canadian oil. It's the same type of oil. It's heavy oil that they're importing. They have some light tight oil, which is good. It's like comes out very viscous and golden brown. It comes out beautiful. But that's not what is the majority of what's they're pumping out, especially right now. It's the same bitumen, thick, very heavy stuff as we have from Canada. And it's just starting. Now there's Chevron reported, so this is true. Chevron saying they can't take all the new capacity. So most likely, I'm just giving you guys a heads up, Canadian oil is going to get booted out because they're getting this stuff from Venezuela cheap. They're like, yeah, we'll pay you when we'll pay you what we want to pay you, Venezuela. Right? You wanted to bring Hamas in and have a nice PR and bring everything. Well, they're reaping that reward. Hamas and a bunch of other groups. You know what I mean? They literally, that's what Venezuela was doing. People are like, as if it was Venezuela's no big deal. Like, no, they were bringing in like the enemies of Canada. It was like what Cuba was doing with Russia on steroids. Unbelievable. Don't hear about it in the news, of course. So this is going to be a problem in Canada. Huge problem. America is not going to want our oil anymore because they don't need it. Venezuela has the most oil resources in the world. And America, and you think the next president's going to let that money bag go? No way. They're going to sink their teeth deep into Venezuela. It's going to be it's a change. And it's close. Like Louisiana and all that has a lot of the refineries, so it's a lot closer than our oil, which is way up north, right? All the way through the states. It goes through a lot of states, and each state has a problem with it. Remember Michigan? That one pipe that went under that water? They're like trying to cancel it. I think Gretner, one of the governors. So it has to go through all these. This way, it's like basically from ship to shore. There's no governor that can, get upset about it because the refineries make so much money. That the state of Louisiana and stuff. And other areas, major refineries. So I suggest a refinery plant in northern Alberta. A bunch of refineries, so we're at least upgrading the oil before we send it over to China and Philippines, which no one talks about. Philippines needs oil, and it's rising. It's a very, very fast developing country. Indonesia, Philippines, Australia, and China all need our oil, and all those other countries. They need our oil. And I think that we should upgrade them. We should have some upgraders, if not full refineries. It'll help create work. It'll help create more income. You know what I mean? Value added, and it'll probably silence the separatists. It is winter. It's cold, but we Canadians were known and should continue to be known for our warm hearts. No. I'm so funny. Okay, and the correction on I recommend. I got some funny pictures, as you can see the cover. The EV mandate is the biggest thing. Remember, all the GM, they were fighting pretty bad. They were fighting fairly hard against this EV mandate and so on and so forth. Fairly hard. Now, this is inconsequently, the Mirabel in Quebec. I don't know the whole story. I don't know the story. I'm learning it from the Bloc Québécois. See, the Bloc Québécois under François Blanchet has stated clearly, we will not push for separation. And he's leaving. Okay, he's been trying to retire for a while, but he doesn't have someone who I think wants to be the leader. I'm not sure, or ready to be leader. It's all behind the curtain stuff, so we don't know. But basically, he said he wanted to retire, and I think, the one issue I used to have is the effectiveness, the effect of Bloc Québécois, The Bloc Québécois politicians are all very good politicians. Maybe because they believe they're fighting more for a cause. They're very effective. And even the one who got flesh-eating disease, very effective. And remember what he did. He backstabbed Harper, and the next thing you know. So he definitely was a good one for that, but he was all into separatists. Now, under Blanchet, Francois Blanchet, they've done a really good job of bringing up Quebec issues and bringing them to Parliament and getting things passed without trying to stoke the separatism. Now, in Quebec, it's by 10 points, or 10%, whatever. The Bloc right now are leading. Bloc of provincial are leading the other parties in that province right now. Now they have an election in October. Legault, who's basically had really high ratings and all this, is retiring. And so the Bloc Québécois are, and these new bloc in the province of Quebec, from the little bit I've looked at, I haven't totally, looked into it because I don't know how big of a wave it is yet. I'm waiting for other journalists, but I'm going to have to look into it deeper personally. That the Bloc Québécois are looking for a referendum. And remember the last referendum, it took the Liberals to, there's a sponsorship scandal under Chrétien. His last deed he did, he basically paid off all these agencies and threw money around and it won, and it was close. I don't think it'll be as close as it is now, but it creates a lot of problems, and it'll incentivize other places, right? So I think Quebec should be a little bit more of a focus from the Conservatives, and they have been. Luc Berthold, I totally mangled his name. I apologize. Has been they've been pushing him forward in Quebec. I mean, in Parliament, they need to focus. The Conservatives, more than anyone, need to focus more on Quebec because that's their weakest province. Even under Harper, it was a very weak province. The Liberals, Carney made a big mistake. He went to the plains of Abraham. And did a very bad speech that pissed them all off. Quebec was pissed. And now this is bringing about, I guess the government took some land out of this town, Mirabel. They confiscated the land for infrastructure, right? And they didn't do proper consultations, and they weren't compensated properly. I know my family, someone in my family, they took some chunk of the land from them. For a street light, right? Not too big deal. They took too much, I think, but whatever. They took a bunch of it, and then they said it was farmland. It wasn't farmland. It was commercial prime commercial property. Maybe not the best of Toronto, but it was commercial. You know what I mean? At least it shouldn't have been as parkland, because that's what it was. It was a park. They literally owned a park. Not my immediate, right? And so the city just gave them a number and said, "Oh, it's farmland." And it was like very pity. They were very upset about the cost. I think this is what I know about it. So what I think is, I think they probably did the same thing to these people in Mirabel. And what I think going forward, and this is what they're trying to say, the Bloc, is you have to say, okay, this is market value for the land, and here's 25% above market value. Because you're not asking to sell. Like, if you're taking from someone who doesn't want to sell something, they're going to get angry. It doesn't matter. So you have to overcompensate them and do consultations, I think, first, and then to see how angry they are, and then overcompensate them, 50% over, whatever. It's what has to happen, right? Unfortunately, unless it's already on the books when you bought the property, that it could be. But when it's like this, oh, surprise, we need your land, right? And it's, hey, you have to do these things a lot of times for the good of the country. Like, there's a rail that's going through. I just think that you have to bite. You got to bite it and pay people for their land more than what you want to. Oh well, right? Or else you're going to get problems. And it can be 20, 30 years on. You can stoke anger out of one silly thing that, you know what I mean, and $1 more million, and everything would have been fine for your whole rail system. You know, and it is a pretty big issue. So, okay. Oh, I'm talking. They're on question period. There are statements by members. I apologize. Not question period. So no need to hear from this one. I appreciate anyone who's here.
To her loved ones. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise with tremendous pride to celebrate two remarkable athletes for my riding who are carrying our proud Canadian flag on the world stage. This year, our Olympic and Paralympic hockey teams will feature two hometown heroes whose talent and determination embody the very best of Elgin County and of Canada. From Rodney, the great Bo Horvat will don the maple leaf with our Olympic team for the first time, and from Wallacestown, James Dunn returns as a star on our para ice hockey team. Their dedication, resilience, and unwavering commitment to their sport inspire us all back home. Bo, James, your achievements reflect the strength of our communities and the spirit of every young athlete who dreams big. All of Elgin County, and I think I can say all Canadians, will be cheering you on every step of the way. We're so proud of you both. Keep your sticks on the ice and bring home the gold.
The Honourable Member for Scarborough-Woburn.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It gives me great pleasure to rise in the House today to mark Black History Month, to honor Black excellence, resistance, resilience, and brilliance across our great country. 2026 marks the 30 years since Black History Month was formally recognized in this House. However, we know that Black history goes beyond centuries here in what we call Canada. From early settlers to abolitionists, community leaders, artists, athletes, entrepreneurs, public servants, and politicians, Black Canadians have touched all parts of Canada's history and continue to shape this great country. Black History Month is not only a time to reflect on our past, but to celebrate our achievements and recommit to building a future rooted in equity, inclusion, and opportunity for all. This month and every month, we recognize Black History Month here in this great country, Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabasca. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I would like to pay tribute to two paramedics in the Richmond-Arthabasca riding whose courage and composure should be recognized. On January 8th, when a major fire broke out in a building on King Street in Richmond, Serge Boulanger and David Leclerc, paramedics with the Coopérative des Travailleurs d'Ambulance de l'Estrie, showed great bravery. They quickly arrived at the scene of the fire and realized that there were still vulnerable people inside. Without hesitating, they entered the smoke-filled building to rescue an elderly tenant who was completely unaware of the danger. Their quick, smart, and safe response saved a life and helped patients and victims. They went above and beyond their duties. They demonstrated great responsibility, courage, and humanity. On behalf of the House of Commons, I want to thank them and highlight their outstanding commitment. The Honourable Member for Sherbrooke. Mr. Speaker, the 2026 Milan Cortina Winter Olympic Games will officially begin tomorrow. Over 3,000 passionate athletes from around the world will compete in the sports they have honed to perfection to get to the Olympics. Over 200 athletes will proudly represent Canada with passion and courage. For the first time, there will be more female Canadian athletes than male Canadian athletes at the Games. Sherbrooke will be proudly represented by Kim Boutin, Félix Roussel, and Jordan Pierre-Gilles in short track speed skating, Antoine Gélina Beaulieu in long track speed skating, and Marion Thénault in freestyle skiing. Martin Fréchette, a nutritionist, will keep our athletes in top shape. To our beloved Olympians, may this great sporting event be an opportunity for you to push your limits and live your dreams to the fullest. Give it your all, have fun, challenge yourselves, and most importantly, remember that here at home, the whole country is rooting for you. Go Canada, go. Go Sherbrooke, go.
The Honourable Member for Terranova, the Peninsulas.
Mr. Speaker, Newfoundland and Labrador has a long history of building boats and protecting North America during the wars. Unfortunately, it seems like this Liberal government is overlooking our province as they build their icebreaker maintenance facility. In my region alone, we currently have 4 industry ports sitting idle. We have Marystown Shipyard, Cowhead Facility, the Bull Arm Fabrication Site, and the retired Navy base of Argentia. Newfoundlanders have used these sites to build vessels, ferries, and even large oil rigs. With all these previous projects, our tradespeople have become the best boat builders in the world. But the last Liberal decade, these sites have been empty. And now, Newfoundland and Labradorians have 74% of its tradespeople unemployed. 74%. Mr. Speaker, we have the ports, we have the people. Let's get a government that gets our people to work.
The honourable member for Winnipeg South Centre.
Mr. Speaker, this year the Sopilka Ukrainian Dance School, located in my riding of Winnipeg South Centre, is celebrating 55 years of preserving and sharing Ukrainian culture. Sopilka began as a small Ukrainian language class and grew into one of Manitoba's most respected dance schools. The school was founded in the early 1970s by Vicky Adams, a constituent of mine and a lifelong champion for Ukrainian culture, education, and community life. Her extraordinary contributions were recently recognized with a King's Coronation Medal, reflecting decades of volunteerism and leadership, including her deep involvement with the Ukrainian Holy Family Church. For generations of young people, Sopilka has been a place where discipline, history, and cultural pride are passed down. Through performances across Manitoba and beyond, Sopilka has helped ensure that Ukrainian traditions remain vibrant, visible, and proud. Congratulations to Vicky Adams, Artistic Director Christina Freikas, the dancers, instructors, families, and alumni on 55 remarkable years, to many more. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Carleton Trail Eagle Creek.
Canada's economy is on life support, and the country is in recession watch. Bloomberg reports per capita GDP is still falling, and the economy is growing at only 1% annually. GDP growth in November was 0%, and real GDP is expected to decline 0.1% in the fourth quarter. And the news for business is bleak. Businesses are postponing their expansion plans. These numbers matter. When our economy isn't growing, Canadians are getting poorer. The Liberals want to blame outside forces instead of taking action here at home. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing economy in the G7, but hasn't gotten rid of a single anti-development law or bureaucracy. He only needs to listen to our ideas and introduce a plan that gets his government's barriers and tax burdens out of the way so Canadians can build.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Mr. Speaker, many of us were dismayed to hear that Quebec would not be represented on the Canadian men's hockey team at the Milan Cortina Olympics. Quebec has always produced outstanding players, and the QMJHL has won more Memorial Cups in recent years than the Ontario or Western Leagues. Yet, Quebec players are absent from the team, and French may be absent as well. This decision by Hockey Canada shows a total lack of consideration for Quebec. But, surprise, Quebecers will be able to cheer on one of their own at the Olympics. Phil Pietronero is from Saint-Eustache. He played part of his junior hockey career with the Val-d'Or Foreurs, where he contributed to the team's victory in the President's Cup in 2014. Today, he is an Olympian as a member of the national team of Italy. From Saint-Eustache to Milan-Corto via Abitibi-Témiscamingue, Phil Pietronero will allow Quebecers to cheer on one of their own by proudly shouting, Viva Italia!
Member for Waterloo.
Mr. Speaker, International Development Week is a moment to reflect on how global challenges are connected and how smart investments can create lasting change. One of the major drivers of food insecurity is climate change, especially in the world's most vulnerable communities. That's why Canada is investing in women and economic empowerment as part of its international development efforts. I joined the Mennonite Central Committee Canada, Canadian Lutheran World Relief, and the Canadian Food Grains Bank for a breakfast on the Hill. Speakers shared that Canada's ODA investments are delivering results, and that when women have access to resources, education, and leadership opportunities, families eat better, communities grow stronger, and local economies become more resilient. This International Development Week, I would like to thank all organizations, team members, volunteers, and donors for your contributions in making Waterloo, Canada, and the world a better place. Your efforts demonstrate what it means to be Canadian, and by working together, we can deliver prosperity through partnerships. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for York Durham.
The Prime Minister promised to build homes at a speed not seen since the Second World War. That was the rhetoric, but it was just an illusion because the CEO of Build Canada Homes came to Parliament this week and told us that, in fact, just 9 homes are built and move-in ready. Just 9. That's the reality, and it's a stark and disappointing reality for young Canadians who face it every day. Their ambition to own a home has turned into disappointment, and that disappointment is turning into defeat. New home sales are down 45% in the GTA, and the Canadian Home Builders Association warns that we are in for a lost decade of home ownership. Well, on this side of the House, our Conservative message is one of hope, always has been, and we have offered the government several positive solutions. Incentivize towns and cities to reduce development charges, tie funding to results, not just promises, reward those who build. So for the sake of the next generation, will the Liberals please stop obstructing these ideas and get out of the way?
The Honourable Member for Orleans.
Down Friday, Mr. 6, the 2026 Olympic Winter Games would officially open in Milan, Cortina d'Ampezzo in Italy. I want to extend my best wishes to all Canadian athletes competing, with a special cheers to those representing our national capital region. Zachary Connolly, Mike Evelyn O'Higgins, Antoine Cyr, Paul Poirier, Kelly Osborne, Isabelle Weinman, Catherine Stewart-Jones, Rachel Oman, Emma Miskew, Cédric Brunet, Jared Schmitz, Anna Schmitz, Valérie Grenier. Je ne peux m'empêcher d'exprimer.
I cannot help but express how proud I am to highlight the participation of our local hero, Yvanie Blondin, from my riding of Orleans. Mr. Speaker, she will defend her title in speed skating.
To every Canadian athlete, Canada is behind you all the way. Go, Canada, go!
The honourable member for Bow River.
Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, the Finance Minister met with major grocers promising to stabilize food prices. Since then, Canada now leads the G7 in food inflation.
Yeah.
Now he's rolling out another temporary rebate, about $5 a week, for a $300 grocery bill. Sure, you'll take it, but it barely makes a dent. Meanwhile, according to Food Banks Canada, almost 20% of food bank clients are not employed full-time. Food inflation is now hitting working Canadians hard. Food inflation is now twice as high as when this Prime Minister took office. Local food banks in my riding are feeling it too. The Wheatland County Food Bank reported record demand in 2025, the highest numbers they've ever seen. The Liberals can blame global factors all they want, but the reality is their fuel standards add 7 cents a litre today, 17 tomorrow, and that hits farmers, truckers, and the cost of food for every family. You would think Liberals would stop obstructing common sense solutions and actually cut the cost of food.
The honourable member for London West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week we mark International Development Week, a time to recognize
They
the
have
people
35
and
seconds.
that help build a
And this,
safer,
he's
healthier,
strict.
and more prosperous world. At a time when the world is facing growing conflict, humanitarian crises, climate change, and economic uncertainty, international development work is more important than ever. I want to thank Canadians working across the international development sector in NGOs, multilateral institutions, community organizations, and public service who dedicate their skills and compassion to improve the lives of those around the globe. Their work support women and girls, strengthen health and education systems, respond to emergencies, and helps communities build resilience in the face of instability and poverty. Often working in difficult and uncertain conditions, they reflect the best of Canada's values: cooperation, respect, and shared humanity. International development is all about partnership, dignity, and long-term impact, and remains essential to building a more stable and connected world for all of us. So on behalf of this House, I want to thank them for their commitment and their service. Thank you for your work.
The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Over the weekend, I had a heartbreaking conversation with Crewellen Halmagen, a friend of mine who had just learned of the loss of his heroic son, Gunner Sebastian Halmagen. Since Confederation, countless Canadians have answered their nation's call to serve, sacrifice, and all too often to never come home. Prime Minister Borden, speaking in 1916, remarked, and I quote, "On the solemn truth that the nation is not constituted of the living alone, there are those as well who have passed away and those yet to be born. So this responsibility comes to us as heirs of the past and trustees of the future." Sebastian told his father, who shared with me, that he wanted every young person to know that sacrifice and commitment to the Canadian Armed Forces was noble and worthy. I want to thank him for his service and his ultimate sacrifice. Offer my prayers and love to his wonderful family. And on behalf of all parliamentarians, say that we will never forget what he gave us.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Today, as a part of Black History Month, we are celebrating the history of Black people, their resilience, and their important contributions to Canadian society. In Bourassa, this is an everyday reality because we have a significant Haitian population in our riding. This solidarity and their contributions enrich my riding and my colleagues' ridings too. For generations now, Black women and men in Canada have contributed to all walks of life, to all spheres. They strengthen our social fabric and they make us a more welcoming and inclusive country. Black History Month is a time to remember, but it's also a time to be proud and a time of recognition. This reminds us that diversity is a source of strength for Canada. Mr. Speaker, beyond our differences, beyond where we come from, we are one people united by the values of respect, dignity, and solidarity. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians need hope. Hope for affordable groceries. Since this Prime Minister took office, he has promised to be judged by grocery store prices. Costs are rising twice as fast amongst the other G7 countries, and I asked the Prime Minister why. It's because of our weak dollar, he said, but he needs to protect it. Can the Prime Minister explain why he gave us a weak dollar and expensive groceries? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I would like to quote the Leader of the Opposition from 26. He invited his colleagues to turn this rhetoric into reality. We see obstruction right now. Canadians asked us to present a plan to grow the Canadian economy, Mr. Speaker, to protect Canada's sovereignty and to ensure that Canadian families, our seniors, the young people, have a promising future, Mr. Speaker. Can the Leader of the Opposition, will he support the government to pass our budget? Rather than quoting people, he, in 2023, said that he would stabilize grocery prices before Thanksgiving. Now, it's been more than 2 years, and grocery prices are rising twice as much. We have the worst food inflation amongst the other G7 countries, and this finance minister who caused these issues, he's still in power. Why does the Prime Minister continue with these taxes and inflationary deficits? And why is he depriving Canadians of affordable food? The Honourable Minister, Mr. Speaker, allow me to help the Leader of the Opposition. He wrote in 2026 that it's time to leave rhetoric aside and to look at the reality of the situation. I know that the Leader of the Opposition was very concerned about his own future at the time, but if he saw the measure we announced to ensure food stability, there'll be a benefit that will help families. There'll be $500 million to have more food, and more importantly, he has the opportunity to support the government to help Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Under this Liberal government and under that particular minister, auto production has fallen by half. And the Prime Minister was elected promising that he would protect the auto industry and get a deal with the U.S. by July 21st. He broke both of those promises, and since there have been job losses at Cami Ingersoll, GM Oshawa, Stellantis Brampton, and Pacao au Quebec. Mr. Speaker, today he finally flip-flopped on his cherished EV mandate, but is bringing in a new subsidy for people to buy American-made automobiles. Why is he forcing Canadian workers to pay taxes to subsidize American vehicles?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
I know it's Thursday, but I have good news for the Leader of the Opposition. I have very good news for him, and I have good news for Canadian. It's called the Canada Auto Strategy, Mr. Speaker. In fact, the Prime Minister of Canada today was standing up for Canadian workers, for Canadian industry, for the future of the industry in this country. They can yell as much as they want on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, but the workers know what we have done for them. They know what we're doing today and what we're going to do in the future. Mr. Speaker, we'll build Canada strong.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that minister was in charge of industrial policy. He's the Minister of Industry, while automobile production fell in Canada by half. And now under this Prime Minister, we've lost 5,000 more auto jobs. Here's the deal that he's announced today. The American president will continue to tariff Canadian-made automobiles going into the U.S., while Canadian taxpayers will be forced to subsidize American vehicles coming back into Canada. Instead of subsidizing American vehicles and killing Canadian jobs, why not take our plan to take the GST off Canadian-made automobiles?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I will tell him that under my watch, for the first time in Canadian history, we brought a European manufacturer to invest in our country, Mr. Speaker. It's called Volkswagen. It's called St. Thomas. It's called the car of the future, Mr. Speaker. Volkswagen has invested a record amount in Canada, Mr. Speaker. They can yell as much as they want.
Okay, I'm going to just not reboot, but I'm sorry, the feed is coming from the thing, and it's fairly bad. So I'm just going to redo this. Excuse, it's going to be odd. To get this rebooted again. For some reason, it's the feed, it isn't coming from either. Oh, and that's not working either. Okay, maybe that'll do it. Everything's down. It's poor feed. I need a new computer, maybe. What say? Yeah, my feed was pretty good, and then it wasn't, and now it isn't, and it goes up and then it goes down. I know, whatever. What can I do? Not much, except keep trying. But here we go. Okay, we got it back up. Now I just need to somehow my video feed. Just sorry about this, folk. But hey, what can I do except keep trying? There's nothing I can do. I apologize for the... I need a new computer or something, direct feed to the internet. Okay, video capture. First we'll start with the EIA. Okay, there's that. Oh, it could have been the filter. There we go. We want to have that. So you can see who's who. You don't want to see really me. Yeah. So that's it. That's what happens on an occasion. They reconfigured this whole my software.
But the people in St. Thomas know who did it. They know what we're doing today, and they know we're going to support our worker, our industry, and the auto sector in this country, Mr. Speaker. Let them continue to criticize.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I'm just going to put it back a little bit. Okay.
Of the past and trustees of the future. Sebastian told his father, who shared with me, that he wanted every young person to know that sacrifice and commitment to the Canadian Armed Forces was noble and worthy. I want to thank him for his service and his ultimate sacrifice. Offer my prayers and love to his wonderful family. And on behalf of all parliamentarians, say that we will never forget what he gave us.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Today, as a part of Black History Month,
hope for affordable groceries. Since this Prime Minister took office, he has promised to be judged by grocery store prices. Costs are rising twice as fast amongst the other G7 countries. And I asked the Prime Minister why. It's because of our weak dollar, he said. But he needs to protect it. Can the Prime Minister explain why he gave us a weak dollar and expensive groceries? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I would like to quote the Leader of the Opposition from 26. He invited his colleagues to turn this rhetoric into reality. We see obstruction right now. Canadians asked us to present a plan to grow the Canadian economy, Mr. Speaker, to protect Canada's sovereignty and to ensure that Canadian families, our seniors, the young people, have a promising future, Mr. Speaker. Can the Leader of the Opposition, will he support the government to pass our budget? Rather than quoting people, he, in 2023, said that he would stabilize grocery prices before Thanksgiving. Now, it's been more than 2 years, and grocery prices are rising twice as much. We have the worst food inflation amongst the other G7 countries, and this finance minister who caused these issues, he's
The Honourable Member for Thornton.
Says they want on this.
We see obstruction right now. Canadians asked us to present a plan to grow the Canadian economy, Mr. Speaker, to protect Canada's sovereignty and to ensure that Canadian families, our seniors, the young people, have a promising future, Mr. Speaker. Can the Leader of the Opposition, will he support the government to pass our budget? Rather than quoting people, he, in 2023, said that he would stabilize grocery prices before Thanksgiving. Now, it's been more than 2 years, and grocery prices are rising twice as much. We have the worst food inflation amongst the other G7 countries, And this finance minister who caused these issues, he's still in power. Why does the Prime Minister continue with these taxes and inflationary deficits? And why is he depriving Canadians of affordable food? The Honourable Minister, Mr. Speaker, allow me to help the Leader of the Opposition. He wrote in 2026 that it's time to leave rhetoric aside and to look at the reality of the situation. I know that the Leader of the Opposition was very concerned about his own future at the time, but if he saw the measure we announced to ensure food stability, there'll be a benefit that will help families. There'll be $500 million to have more food, and more importantly, he has the opportunity to support the government to help Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Under this Liberal government and under that particular minister, auto production has fallen by half. And the Prime Minister was elected promising that he would protect the auto industry and get a deal with the U.S. by July 21st. He broke both of those promises, and since there have been job losses at Cami Ingersoll, GM Oshawa, Stellantis Brampton, and PACCAR au Québec. Mr. Speaker, today he finally flip-flopped on his cherished EV mandate, but is bringing in a new subsidy for people to buy American-made automobiles. Why is he forcing Canadian workers to pay taxes to subsidize American vehicles?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
I know it's Thursday, but I have good news for the Leader of the Opposition. I have very good news for him, and I have good news for Canadian. It's called the Canada Auto Strategy, Mr. Speaker. In fact, the Prime Minister of Canada today was standing up for Canadian workers, for Canadian industry, for the future of the industry in this country. They can yell as much as they want on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, but the workers know what we have done for them. They know what we're doing today and what we're going to do in the future. Mr. Speaker, we'll build Canada strong.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that minister was in charge of industrial policy. He's the Minister of Industry, while automobile production fell in Canada by half. And now under this Prime Minister, we've lost 5,000 more auto jobs. Here's the deal that he's announced today. The American president will continue to tariff Canadian-made automobiles going into the U.S., while Canadian taxpayers will be forced to subsidize American vehicles coming back into Canada. Instead of subsidizing American vehicles and killing Canadian jobs, why not take our plan to take the GST off Canadian-made automobiles?
But the people in St. Thomas know who did it. They know what we're doing today, and they know we're going to support our worker, our industry, and the auto sector in this country, Mr. Speaker. Let them continue to criticize.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he's literally yelling for us to stop yelling. This is an example of the Liberal illusion. The Prime Minister has put in charge of finance the industry minister who's responsible for auto production in Canada falling by half. Wow. And the present collapse of auto production and jobs in our country. Now, the Prime Minister broke his promise to negotiate a deal with the U.S., and now he wants to subsidize U.S.-made vehicles. Why not take taxes off Canadian-made vehicles so that we can bring home jobs to our country?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I don't need to speak loud because Canadians know what we did. If he wants to look at what we did under my watch, Mr. Speaker, let him talk about Windsor, Mr. Speaker, and about Nexstar. What we did, Mr. Speaker, is to see where the puck is going. That is truly Canadian. Making sure that we build the auto sector of today, but the auto sector of tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. We understood, and not even just Canadian. Bloomberg said that Canada would have the most complete supply chain when it comes to EV, Mr. Speaker. We are proud of our record. We are proud to invest in Canadian workers, and we'll build the industry of the future together.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Bloomberg just said that the economy in Canada is shrinking under that minister and this Prime Minister, but from failed economic Liberal policy to failed immigration Liberal policy, Liberals have unleashed an extortion crisis by allowing Vishnoi gangsters into our country without screening. Now, they are allowing them to stay here by even after they're convicted if they make a phony refugee claim. Conservatives moved a motion at committee to kick extortionists out of our country after they've been convicted. Liberals voted it down. Wow. Will they join with us, stop obstructing, pass an amendment to the law so that we can kick extortionists and fake refugee claimants out of Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to extortion, the Conservatives have been uniquely unhelpful in advancing the laws that police are telling us they need to combat extortion. I received a message this morning from Patrick Brown, the Mayor of Brampton, saying that the Peel Regional Police have asked him to pass along the message that the Strong Borders Act is necessary to provide lawful access to help law enforcement break up extortion rings. Mr. Speaker, for months they have obstructed measures that were going to make bail and sentencing tougher on extortionists. It's one thing to stand up and make noise in the House of Commons. It's another to get the laws adopted. Let's do the job Canadians demand.
The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker,
Black History Month is a time
to present a plan to grow the Canadian economy, Mr. Speaker.
History Month is a time to remember, but it's also a time to be proud and a time of recognition. This reminds us that diversity is a source of strength for Canada. Mr. Speaker, beyond our differences, beyond where we come from, we are one people united by the values of respect, dignity, and solidarity. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians need hope. Hope for affordable groceries. Since this Prime Minister took office, he has promised to be judged by grocery store prices. Costs are rising twice as fast amongst the other G7 countries. And I asked the Prime Minister why. It's because of our weak dollar, he said. But he needs to protect it. Can the Prime Minister explain why he gave us a weak dollar and expensive groceries? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I would like to quote the Leader of the Opposition from 26. He invited his colleagues to turn this rhetoric into reality. We see obstruction right now. Canadians asked us to present a plan to grow the Canadian economy, Mr. Speaker, to protect Canada's sovereignty and to ensure that Canadian families, our seniors, the young people, have a promising future, Mr. Speaker. Can the Leader of the Opposition, will he support the government to pass our budget? Rather than quoting people, he, in 2023, said that he would stabilize grocery prices before Thanksgiving. Now it's been more than 2 years, and grocery prices are rising twice as much. We have the worst food inflation amongst the other G7 countries, and this finance minister who caused these issues, he's still in power. Why does the Prime Minister continue with these taxes and inflationary deficits, and why is he depriving Canadians of affordable food? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, allow me to help the Leader of the Opposition. He wrote in 2026 that it's time to leave rhetoric aside and to look at the reality of the situation. I know that the Leader of the Opposition was very concerned about his own future at the time, but if he saw the measure we announced to ensure food stability, there'll be a benefit that will help families. There'll be $500 million to have more food, and more importantly, he has the opportunity to support the government to help Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Under this Liberal government and under that particular minister, auto production has fallen by half. And the Prime Minister was elected promising that he would protect the auto industry and get a deal with the U.S. by July 21st. He broke both of those promises, and since there have been job losses at Cami Ingersoll, GM Oshawa, Stellantis Brampton, and Pacao au Québec. Mr. Speaker, today he finally flip-flopped on his cherished EV mandate, but is bringing in a new subsidy for people to buy American-made automobiles. Why is he forcing Canadian workers to pay taxes to subsidize American vehicles?
All right, it's back for a while.
I know it's Thursday, but I have good news
I'd
for
like
the
to buy
leader
some
of
new
the
computers,
opposition.
but hey.
I have very good news for him, and I have good news for
DDoS.
Canadian. It's called the Canada Auto Strategy, Mr. Speaker. In fact, the Prime Minister of Canada today was standing up for Canadian workers, for Canadian industry, for the future of the industry in this country. They can yell as much as they want on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, but the workers know what we have done for them. They know what we're doing today and what we're going to do in the future. Mr. Speaker, we'll build Canada strong.
The leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that minister was in charge of industrial policy. He's the Minister of Industry, while automobile production fell in Canada by half. And now under this Prime Minister, we've lost 5,000 more auto jobs. Here's the deal that he's announced today. The American president will continue to tariff Canadian-made automobiles going into the U.S., while Canadian taxpayers will be forced to subsidize American vehicles coming back into Canada. Instead of subsidizing American vehicles and killing Canadian jobs, why not take our plan to take the GST off Canadian-made automobiles?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I will tell him that under my watch, for the first time in Canadian history, we brought a European manufacturer to invest in our country, Mr. Speaker. It's called Volkswagen. It's called St. Thomas. It's called the car of the future, Mr. Speaker. Volkswagen has invested a record amount in Canada, Mr. Speaker. They can yell as much as they want, but the people in St. Thomas know who did it. They know what we're doing today, and they know we're going to support our worker, our industry, and the auto sector in this country, Mr. Speaker. Let them continue to criticize.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he's literally yelling for us to stop yelling. This is an example of the Liberal illusion. The Prime Minister has put in charge of finance the industry minister who is responsible for auto production in Canada falling by half. Wow. And the present collapse of auto production and jobs in our country. Now, the Prime Minister broke his promise to negotiate a deal with the U.S., and now he wants to subsidize U.S.-made vehicles. Why not take taxes off Canadian-made vehicles so that we can bring home jobs to our country?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I don't need to speak loud because Canadians know what we did. If he wants to look at what we did under my watch, Mr. Speaker, let him talk about Windsor, Mr. Speaker, and about Nexstar. What we did, Mr. Speaker, is to see where the puck is going. That is truly Canadian. Making sure that we build the auto sector of today, but the auto sector of tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. We understood, and not even just Canadian, Bloomberg said that Canada would have the most complete supply chain when it comes to EV, Mr. Speaker. We are proud of our record. We are proud to invest in Canadian workers, and we'll build the industry of the future together.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Bloomberg just said that the economy in Canada is shrinking under that minister and this Prime Minister, but from failed economic Liberal policy to failed immigration Liberal policy, Liberals have unleashed an extortion crisis by allowing Vishnoi gangsters into our country without screening. Now, they are allowing them to stay here by even after they're convicted if they make a phony refugee claim. Conservatives moved a motion at committee to kick extortionists out of our country after they've been convicted. Liberals voted it down. Wow. Will they join with us, stop obstructing, pass an amendment to the law so that we can kick extortionists and fake refugee claimants out of Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to extortion, the Conservatives have been uniquely unhelpful in advancing the laws that police are telling us they need to combat extortion. I received a message this morning from Patrick Brown, the mayor of Brampton, saying that the Peel Regional Police have asked him to pass along the message that the Strong Borders Act is necessary to provide lawful access to help law enforcement break up extortion rings. Mr. Speaker, for months they have obstructed measures that were going to make bail and sentencing tougher on extortionists. It's one thing to stand up and make noise in the House of Commons. It's another to get the laws adopted. Let's do the job Canadians demand.
The Honourable Member for Berthier-Maskinangé. Mr. Speaker, some retirees have not received their old age pensions for 9 months. Civil servants warned the government last summer that this was due to Curam. But the Liberals didn't listen to the public servants. They gagged them. And the government's instructions to the civil servants was to absolutely not tell people that the delays or payment errors are because of Curam. Instead of attacking whistleblowers, why doesn't the government help retirees? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The department is doing everything it can to rapidly solve the issues. This includes enhancing training so that personnel is able to deal with requests faster. There are positive signs are showing that this training is paying off. Our Bureau contacted the member across the way to see if they have any urgent cases, and I would ask them to contact me so we can respond. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Maskinangé. Mr. Speaker, there are seniors who are not receiving their old age pensions, and instead of helping them, the Liberals are trying to protect themselves. It's extremely worrisome because the same Curam system is experiencing problems with the payment of old age and also EI and the federal pension plan. By minimizing the problems instead of solving them, the Liberals are creating the perfect conditions for a storm that would make Phoenix look like a simple storm. When are they going to fix the problems instead of intimidating public servants? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Our government is protecting seniors. We are offering dental care, enhanced OAS, and lodging for seniors. We're modernizing the digital and benefit system. And I would ask the member across the way to give me the names of these people, and we will help them. The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, quite frankly, one wonders if the minister reads French language media, because if she did, she would stop downplaying the problems of retirees who are not receiving their old age pensions. And if so, they would know that civil servants have resorted to acting as whistleblowers because they're so fed up with being silenced instead of being helped. Enough is enough. There are errors in pensions because of the Curam software. All civil servants are saying so, and the Liberals seem to be putting more energy into covering up the problem rather than solving it. When are they going to take action?
They've been on this for days, and there hasn't been much about it.
Mr. Speaker, I do read French language medium, but I also work in English and in French, like many people in this House.
Mr. Speaker, we have focused all our resources on making sure that we get through the waiting list. Mr. Speaker, it is shrinking every day. I thank the civil service, by the way, for taking the effort to learn this system and learn it well. And as I mentioned, we've been in contact with these members of Parliament. If they have urgent cases, please send them to me. We haven't received any names yet.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
3 years ago, the Finance Minister promised to stabilize food prices, and he did, at record highs. Canada now has the worst food inflation in the G7, twice as high as when the Prime Minister took office and twice as high as the U.S. And now the Minister offers another temporary rebate that won't lower the price of a single item, while admitting his so-called historic summit that he got CEOs to come to Ottawa for was a failure. They voted against our common sense motion yesterday to lower food costs. Why won't they just take off the taxes off of food?
The Honourable Government Health Leader.
The real question, Mr. Speaker, is why won't the Conservatives vote for the plan, the Prime Minister's plan, the Prime Minister's economic plan, the one that gets projects built quickly, that puts $1 trillion of investment into our economy, that uses Canadian lumber, Canadian steel, Canadian ingenuity, and the great union work of Canadian brothers and sisters to build our country strong. When, I just want a date from the honourable member, when will they pass the Budget Implementation Act, the Prime Minister's plan to build Canada?
MP McKinnon's been fired lately. I just, where did he come from?
Mr. Speaker, my colleague knows that I'm talking about a grocery plan, but it doesn't actually lower the price of groceries. It's a $10 coupon on a $300 grocery bill, and it's insulting. And the rebate won't lower a single price. That's, of course, after they put forward a budget, which this wasn't even in. Meanwhile, they keep hiking the fuel taxes, the packaging taxes, driving food costs higher, and blaming everyone else and their decade of failure for it. Why won't they lower the prices? If they won't do that, why don't they take the taxes off of food?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, you know what's insulting to the constituents of Thornhill? When that member votes against the very things that they themselves are saying are useful. In fact, not just her constituents, but certainly the food banks in her riding would say that the announcement the Prime Minister made on the GST, on the essentials benefit, and on strengthening our food security, and on supporting food banks, and on supporting producers is exactly what we need to do for food security in this country. She needs to get on board and stop voting against the very constituents she represents.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
The Prime Minister is doing everything possible to ignore the reality that Canadians are facing in their daily lives. Food inflation in Canada is twice as high as it is in the United States, and the temporary measures that the Liberals are offering will not result in a single grocery price reduction. They had an opportunity to collaborate yesterday and pass our motion, which would have lowered prices at the grocery store, but they voted against it. Yep. Why is it that the Prime Minister's personal agenda always comes before the needs of everyday Canadians?
Good question.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Let's see. Why?
Mr. Speaker, we have a Prime Minister with world-class business and economic experience. We've cut taxes for millions of Canadians. And just last week, we announced a groceries and essentials benefit that will put up to $1,900 in the pockets of working families. The Conservative leader has never had a job in the economy. He continues to obstruct. He continues to talk rhetoric. It's time for that leader to get on board, help us build Canada strong. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Well, this Prime Minister is traveling around the world and making big speeches, but what is he really achieving for Canadians? Food inflation is twice as high as when the Prime Minister took office, and Canada now leads the G7 in food inflation. The Prime Minister promised to be judged by the prices at the grocery store. Yesterday, Conservatives tried to help by presenting a real solution to lower grocery prices for Canadians, yet the Liberals voted against this common sense motion. So will the Prime Minister now eat his words because Canadians can't? Wow.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Probably not.
Well, Mr. Speaker, what the Prime Minister is doing is creating investment in Canada, investment that has made it such that Canada created more jobs than the United States. Not more per capita, not more per capita, more jobs than the United States. This Prime Minister, I hope he keeps traveling and bringing home those jobs, Mr. Speaker.
You listen to them yell and the cheering of the Liberals. This is unprecedented in the decades of Liberal rule.
Mr. Speaker, Canada leads the G7 in food inflation. Prices are rising twice as fast as in the United States, and yesterday the Liberals voted against the Conservative plan to lower food costs. The industrial carbon tax is driving up costs for farm machinery, for fertilizers, and for food processors. When you tax the farmer, you tax every Canadian. When will the Liberals work with us to cut this unnecessary industrial carbon tax and the 17 cents a litre fuel standard tax that are driving up grocery prices?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague from British Columbia is asking a question about something that's incredibly important. to all Canadians. And you know what? This government has taken steps to address this. We are introducing the groceries and essentials benefit, which is going to put money in the pockets of families so that they can acquire the things that they need. A family of 4 will receive up to $1,890 this year and $1,400 for the next 4 years. We're taking action to support the families in BC.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg au Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, we know that since the Liberals have come to power, grocery prices are up, the cost of living is up, and for a single-parent family, it's harder for them to pay for rent. Can the Prime Minister confirm that all the members of the Cabinet agree with the idea of personally helping vulnerable people to have access to affordable housing? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, it's important to take account of the needs of our constituents, and the strategy we're adopting is one that's based on giving back purchasing power to Canadians, and that's essentially what we're focusing on. For us, it's important, but in this strategy, there are food strategies, there are also job creation strategies, and we also need the cooperation from the opposition, not obstruction. Thank you. Just to specify, I won't be voting personally. Well, the Honourable Member for Charlebourg au Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, I think my colleague across the way did not hear the news, but in the Journal de Montréal this morning, we learned that a single-parent mother is being kicked out of her housing, and this member realize that she's showing a lack of empathy and morals. Honourable Government House Leader, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if this has any relationship with anything to do with our government administration. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals should never have cancelled the incentives for the purchase of EVs. So it's good news that they're being reinstated for vehicles manufactured here or in countries with which we have free trade agreements like Europe. But the problem is that the federal government is blocking affordable EVs from Europe. Ottawa has decided that these cars, which are good for everyone else on the planet, are not good enough for Canada. Will the government offer people a choice by allowing European electric cars?
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the contrary, we welcome these EVs because our rebate applies as part of the free trade agreement, including that with Europe. So our auto strategy includes a lot of incentives to attract people to increase our future in electric vehicles in Canada. That's exactly what our policy is doing. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, reinstating incentives for the purchase of EVs is a small step forward, but it still doesn't erase the Liberals' setbacks and bringing EVs in. It won't lead to lasting mobility. They cut $5 billion from the public transit fund while subsidizing oil companies to the tune of tens of billions. They're also agreeing with Alberta to build a new dirty oil pipeline, even as they claim to be promoting electric transportation. Why is it that when it comes to the Liberals, they take one step forward but 1,000 steps backward?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, because it's all about money now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate my colleague's question. But once again, it's the opposite. Our announcement today includes a national network for EVs with an investment of $1.5 billion. So this is a national project which includes Quebec to welcome this green future and EVs in our country.
I'm going to pause it for a second because, hey, I'm behind. Another thing that's happening is China has overproduced EVs. They have over 200 EV companies, and they've been dumping their vehicles in Europe at a discount. and they're most likely the 50,000 vehicles that we're going to get will also be discounted. Most likely, we don't know yet. Will be discounted, and then on top of it, you'll get the $5,000 off of it. These Chinese vehicles are going to probably sell like hotcakes. A 50,000 vehicle possibly going for 12,000 with the rebate and with them knocking it off. I don't know how true exactly the numbers are because it was from a politician who said it, but he says they're knocking their vehicles by like 45% off the price. So $50,000 vehicle, we'll say $30,000. They're selling it for $30,000, right? 50%, whatever. I'm just giving it a little bit of and then plus that $25,000 vehicle. Basically, you can get that's possible coming. And then obviously they'll sell like hotcakes, and that is most likely pissing off the car manufacturers that are here as they're slowly rolling in this EV as there's not a big demand. Okay, let's listen to that.
Member for Parrytown, Muskoka. New home sales in the GTA have fallen to their lowest level in 45 years, putting 100,000 jobs at risk. Home ownership among 30 to 34-year-olds has dropped from 62% to 52%. Young Canadians are losing hope. 93% of Gen Z and millennials are worried about housing, and nearly half of them are planning to leave their home communities. The Prime Minister promised to help Canadians buy their first home. So after nearly a decade, why are sales collapsing, builders laying off workers, and ownership is getting further and further out of reach?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
The board isn't doing their job yet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it's a good day to be asking that question. We've introduced the Build Canada Homes Act this morning.
Oh, I don't know them. This is news to me as well. Oh, that's nice.
Make
Better
sure
to hear
that
good
young Canadians have access to affordable housing going forward. We've dedicated $13 billion in the budget. We need the support of members in this House to pass that budget, to invest in young Canadians. We need the support. We don't need obstruction on the Build Canada Homes Act to make sure we have a lean, mean agency to deliver that funding to young Canadians.
The Honourable Member for...
$13 billion, okay.
Well, I guess we shouldn't be surprised the Minister is talking about his Build Canada Rentals project, but home ownership is what's collapsing. In 2020, 69% of starts were for ownership. Today, it's 49%. New home sales are down 45% in the GTA, and builders are laying off workers. So it's a very simple question to the Minister. Do you really, truly believe that creating a fourth federal housing bureaucracy without reducing taxes or fees or all the approval delays will really make it easier for Canadians to buy their first home?
Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm concerned that the member opposite doesn't care about renters. In my city, half of the population rents housing. And certainly we do not discriminate against those who choose to buy or rent. Many Canadians don't have a choice. That's why we have to make affordable housing options possible for all Canadians. Make sure they have a safe home. We don't need any delays in this House to the budget or to the Build Canada Homes Act. We need to deliver affordable housing for Canadians. I hope the member will support us on our bill.
It is kind of depressing that they're basically giving up on home ownership. You're done. That's probably going to sink this Liberal
from
Party
the Missing Middle Initiative warns of a lost decade for home ownership. For every 100 new adults, there will be only 12 housing starts intended for ownership. Nearly half of young Canadians say they've considered leaving their city or province because of housing costs. Now the market is seizing.
Yeah, but you can't even go to Manitoba and get a cheap home.
Have hit a 45-year low, putting 100,000 jobs at risk. Builders are laying off workers and fear they may not survive. When will the Liberals adopt our plan to get their bureaucracy out of the way so young Canadians can buy?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it is critical that we build housing in the GTA that is affordable. We want to get the industry back building affordable housing for Canadians, certainly in the GTA, but across the country. We're seeing good housing starts in many cities across the country, but we're just getting started with affordability. And we need to deliver with members around this House on the Build Canada Homes Act. No obstruction. Let's get to building.
The Honourable Member for Brampton West.
Mr. Speaker, young Canadians are being locked out from home ownership. Home ownership is collapsing. For 30 to 34-year-olds, it fell from 60% to 52%. Supply is broken. For every 100 new adults, only 12 ownership homes are built. Sales are crashing, down 45% in the GTA, down 56% in Vancouver. Builders are laying off workers. 100,000 jobs are at risk. 93% of young Canadians are worried. When will the Liberals adopt our plans and get out of the way so young Canadians can buy their first home?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we have good news for this House. Just today, we tabled the Build Canada Homes Act, and we are hopeful that the Conservatives will not obstruct this bill, as they've been doing with our budget that provides more affordability measures to Canadians so that they can have that dream of buying their first home,
I'll read
so that
it out
they can
after
live
this.
in affordable housing. That is the dream of all Bramptonians. That is what I hear from my constituents, and this act will help us meet those goals, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Red Deer.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal housing crisis is hitting communities of every size. The City of Red Deer has been asking for a meeting with the Housing Minister for months to address their housing concerns. And despite writing to him 4 times, it seems like Red Deer is too small for the Minister to care to respond. I sure hope Red Deer isn't being ignored because it doesn't deliver Liberal votes like Toronto and Vancouver. Will the Minister finally agree to sit down with the City of Red Deer and listen to their issues and admit that mid-sized cities are facing a housing crisis too?
The Honourable Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, once again, Conservatives in Ottawa are out of step with Conservatives in Alberta. Alberta's Minister of Social Services has praised the pace of housing delivery, saying we're getting shovels in the ground and roofs over the head of Albertans. Thousands more low-income Albertans will have a safe, durable house, affordable house that they can count on. Federal Conservatives say they want to work with us, but they can't even work with their own Conservative colleagues on delivering housing for Albertans.
The Honourable Member for Mississauga East Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, the auto sector is facing the biggest challenge in a generation. Unjustified and unjustifiable tariffs from the United States on our auto sector is leaving our auto workers under a cloud of uncertainty. Our government stands behind our auto sector, behind our communities, and the workers that are facing these new realities head on. Can the Minister of Jobs and Families please tell this House how the newly announced auto strategy will transform Canada's auto industry, protecting our workers today and building the vehicles of tomorrow?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Member of Parliament from Mississauga East Cooksville for his unwavering support for auto workers and the sector. Canada's auto workers and workers are the backbone of our economy, and when our auto sector workers come under attack, our government stands with them and protects them. So today, the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Industry announced Canada's new auto strategy, taking action on what we can control. We're investing $3 billion from the Strategic Response Fund to support the industry, $570 million to support reskilling and upskilling workers. Mr. Speaker, this is how you build Canada strong. We stand together when times are tough, and
The Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
This Liberal minister says that they stand with auto workers. What it looks like is they stand with Donald Trump, because while Donald Trump imposes 10% tariffs on every single vehicle that comes into Canada,
Trump's doing a better job for his people than our government, I'm sorry to say. Though I'm a Canadian first, all right?
The member may start over. The member may start over. I didn't see anything unparliamentary in that.
Now there's talk about tariffs actually happening, Canadians doing tariffs, following what Trump has been doing. Like I said, they complain, but
the Honourable Member for Dufferin. The Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
the Liberal minister just said that they stand with auto workers, but it sure looks like they stand with Donald Trump. Let me explain. While Donald Trump imposes 10% tariffs on every single vehicle that comes into Canada, these Liberals have passed an EV mandate that is actually going to give Canadian taxpayer dollars in the form of subsidies to American-made EVs. You actually can't make this up. Less than 5% of Canadian vehicles will qualify for this EV subsidy. Why are they contributing to Donald Trump's Buy American instead of preserving jobs in Canada?
Oh, he's got a good point there. Yeah, I thought the EVs were only for Canadians. But then, I knew they weren't. Yeah, he's got a point.
Secretary of State, Parliamentary Secretary.
They want the EVs, that's why.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If that member and the party opposite thinks that we are on the wrong side of Canadian sovereignty, they've got another thing coming. Our approach is all about Canadian sovereignty. It's all about investing in the companies that invest in us. It's all about embracing the future of electrification. It's all about embracing our workers, who are the best workers in the world. And for the members opposite to talk down Canadian sovereignty or to talk down this sector at this moment of real challenge, when we've got an opportunity to solve it, is really beneath them.
The honourable member.
I was hoping they would start a Canadian company.
Time for a little bit of education for these Liberals, Mr. Speaker. Less than 5% of vehicles manufactured in Canada will qualify for this EV rebate. The rest will come from the United States and other foreign manufacturers. But imagine you're the auto worker
every
in
vehicle
Brampton
from China
who
will
was
hit
supposed to
that.
manufacture the Jeep Compass EV. That job went to the United States. That Jeep EV Compass being manufactured in the United States is actually going to be subsidized by your taxpayer dollars. If you are that auto worker in Brampton, you are looking at this Liberal government and how this is going to benefit Donald Trump and saying, what the hell is going on in Ottawa?
We just have to watch our language a little bit, though. We just have to watch our language. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'll tell you what the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association has to say about today's announcement. We welcome the government's automotive strategy announced today. Funding to support renewed purchase incentives and a robust charging infrastructure strategy will help continue to drive EV adoption, and CVMA members are well positioned to support this shift to electrification through diverse product offerings. That sounds like Canadian sovereignty to me, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Northumberland, Clark.
Mr. Speaker, in 2014, under the then Conservative government, the New York Times declared that Canada's middle class was the richest in the world. Now our middle class faces skyrocketing costs and taxes and a stagnant GDP per capita and a declining standard of living. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing G7
Hungary now has a higher
by
standard of
building
living
major
for Canadian
However,
middle
the
class,
major
for middle
national
class.
projects, they built none. And they continue to build none. The time to act is now. When will they collaborate with Conservatives and finally bring prosperity back to our great land?
It's just them getting the middle. There's not much being done about it, to my honest
Speaker,
opinion.
I have good news for my friend. Today, Trans Mountain just said they will be increasing the amount of oil they transport by 10% on the first of 3 optimization projects. That's how we build Canada.
The honourable member for Northumberland, Clark.
It always worries me when this government opens up, we have good news, because it rarely is. What we're asking for, what Canadians want, are new pipelines, new projects, and the amount that they've approved, absolutely zero. This government needs to reverse course that has led 2 million Canadians to food banks, admit that their policies have failed, embrace Conservative principles fully, and collaborate with Conservatives to bring prosperity back to our country.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, they keep asking for pipelines. We just gave them one. We're building thousands of jobs in Darlington. We're building, they're not.
The Honourable Member for Niagara South.
Mr. Speaker, Bloomberg reports that Canada's economy is on life support. Canada's GDP growth was 0 in November. Productivity continues to fall, and the Bank of Canada expects that just 1% growth next year, with business investment being postponed. How bad is it? Home builders in Niagara have laid off 60% of their framers due to stalled residential construction. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing economy in the G7, yet growth is stalled. Will the Prime Minister please adopt Conservative ideas that remove barriers so Canadians can actually build and grow again?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well,
I know what constitutes good news for Canadians does not always constitute good news for Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. But let me give them another piece of good news. The first major national project this spring breaks ground, le port de Contrecoeur, une expansion de 60%, an exposed container port capacity, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build more stuff. We're going to put more stuff on boats. We're going to send more things to more places around the world, expand our trade, put people to work, and build Canada.
The honourable member for Barrie Springwater, Earl Medante.
Mr. Speaker, Canada made international headlines this week, with economists stating that our economy is on life support and the country is already on recession watch. Right. Our per capita GDP is falling, residential construction is flat, businesses are postponing expansion, and this Liberal government's anti-development laws and taxes remain in place. Will the Prime Minister work with Conservatives and introduce a plan to remove the barriers that are preventing Canadians from building, investing, and working?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Speaker, speaking of building, we're building big. The Port of Montreal expansion project is 7,000 construction jobs and over 1,000 permanent. Amazing. Darlington Nuclear is 18,000.
Over 7,500 homes, with over tens of thousands more in the pipeline right now, Mr. Speaker, with the Build Canada Homes Act, which is introduced this morning, which we expect the support of this House on. We're establishing a lean, efficient agency that is 100% focused on delivering affordable housing for Canadians. We ask for your support.
The Honourable Member for Richmond North Westka. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, we are seeing another Liberal IT fiasco.
Yeah, the feed's bad today. It'll probably be better tomorrow or as soon as question period is over.
Has gone from costing $1.75 billion to $6.5 billion. And even worse, 93%
I
of
was going to get an
civil
attack on my
servants
channel,
are giving it a
and
failing
I knew.
grade. Employees are being ordered to not criticize the software when they talk to the public. Mr. Speaker, how could this fiasco happen? What is the minister going to do about this software? Did the minister sign off on this irresponsible spending?
60-year-old system is not an easy task, and I want to start by thanking the employees at ESDC who are working so hard to make sure that seniors get their benefits on time and in accuracy. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, that's exactly what's happened. 98% of the cases are through, and I will say that we are working diligently on remaining outstanding cases where people have not yet received their benefits who have signed up to do so. If that member opposite has an urgent case, or any member of Parliament has an urgent case, we can accelerate those cases in situations where people are in dire need. Please contact my office.
The Honourable Member for Richmond North Westka. Mr. Speaker, departmental employees are telling us it's not working. Our seniors built our country and paid taxes their whole lives, and now some of them are waiting up to 8 months to get their money. I'll give you a concrete case. Mr. Martial Lavoie, in my writing, he's still waiting for his check. He actually delayed his retirement because at the time there was a labor shortage. So he kept working, and now that he's finally trying to retire, he can't get his money. Mr. Speaker, what would the minister say to Mr. Lavoie? He's listening right now.
We are happy to help any senior that finds themselves in dire needs. And as I said, we are making progress. This is a very small percentage of the over 7 million Canadians who have been successfully transferred to the Curum system. This system, Mr. Speaker, brings us into the modern age, what Canadians want. In fact, seniors can now apply online and have a fully automated process to get their benefits started. In these cases where things have been done in the old way with paper forms, often there is missing information. There may be other challenges. We have put additional resources to ensuring we get through those cases, and we can help members just like Mr. Lavoie.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lebinière. Mr. Speaker, not only is this government stealing land from farmers, it is also closing agro-foods research centres, such as the Sainte-Foy Centre in the riding of the member for Louis Hébert, which is part which is one of the 7 agri-foods research centers that the Liberals are arbitrarily closing. Canadian science and innovation is built in these centers, which help us be more productive. How can the Prime Minister justify his decision to prioritize consultants and foreign projects rather than our homegrown expertise that feeds Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It warms my heart that the Conservatives are now concerned about science and research.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm happy to reassure them that the federal government will continue the largest agriculture researcher in this country. In fact, just last month, Mr. Speaker, we invested $9.7 million with the government of Saskatchewan in science and research. We're not going anywhere. We still have 17 centres across the country. We're going to work with our stakeholders. We're going to work with academia, and we're going to make research better than it ever has been. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Nunavut.
In Rankin Inlet, the NDP caucus heard from one Inuk who shared that he has waited for 11 years for a house. There are 17 people in his 2-bedroom unit. His story is all too common in Nunavut. The government is acting on what I've told them. Nunavut will receive 50 more homes added to the 700 originally promised in the budget. This is a good start. Will the minister keep working with Nunavut to address the worst housing crisis in Canada?
Here. The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for her question. I'm very excited to share that the Government of Canada, the Government of Nunavut, and Nunavut Tungavik Incorporated reached an agreement to deliver up to 750 homes in the territory there. Right. Build Canada Homes will lead this work using innovative factory-built components to get homes ready faster. We're prioritizing Canadian materials, we're supporting Inuit-owned businesses, and creating lots of job opportunities and training opportunities. This partnership will make a real difference on the ground. I thank her for her leadership in helping bring more homes to Nunavut that are much-needed affordable homes, and I encourage all...
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
Good news, Mr. Speaker. Canada's energy regulator has rejected Brookfield's plans to send Canadian hydroelectricity to the United States with almost no benefit to the people who live here, and has instead recommended a full licensing process and review. But the final decision still rests with the Minister of Natural Resources. So will that minister commit to accepting the energy regulator's recommendations and ensuring that Canada's national interests always come first?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Let me reassure the member across the aisle that our government is working closely with the government of British Columbia to build an affordable, reliable, and clean electricity grid that meets the significant surge in demand we are expecting in the years to come. As the member opposite said, this matter is currently before the Commission of the Canadian Energy Regulator, which makes its decisions independent of the federal government in the best interests of Canada's ability to meet its domestic energy needs.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
The state of emergency in Cross Lake Pimicikamak is now over 40 days long. The Army came, made recommendations, and left. And where is the federal government? Still brainstorming solutions. Meanwhile, evacuees remain stranded in cities without adequate supports. When will Ottawa move past talking points, at a minimum implement the Army's recommendations, and uphold their constitutional responsibilities to support people returning to a safe home?
Here. The Honourable Minister for Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
I can assure my friend across the aisle that emergency management, our department was in contact with that nation from the commencement of the power outage. We've worked, as has Indigenous Services Canada, to make sure that, firstly, we sent the Canadian Armed Forces, and secondly, that there were sufficient people on the ground to help evacuate and provide benefits to the region. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As International Development Week comes to a close, I know I and many of my colleagues in this place have met with dozens of frontline workers from development organizations who are reeling from the broken promise. During the election, the Liberals promised, the Prime Minister said, quote unquote, we will not cut foreign assistance. We will not cut development assistance. And the budget showed a cut of $2.7 billion. We used to be known in the world. Lester B. Pearson, as former Prime Minister, set the global target for development assistance, and yet here we are falling through the cracks, not delivering. Will the Minister commit to reviving the Pearson target?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Speaker, we remain committed to our long-standing international assistance priorities. We will continue to fight poverty, to support gender equality, to strengthen health, food, and education systems, and build climate resilience. We will continue to deliver urgent humanitarian aid abroad. And, Mr. Speaker, the measure of our work is in the partnerships we build to deliver development outcomes at scale. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That concludes the question period.
Thursday question.
The motion. I believe as is usually the case on Thursdays, as is always the case on Thursdays, the opposition House Leader, Honourable Opposition House Leader, has a question for the Honourable Government House Leader. Yes.
Okay. Oh, is this all right? There we go. It's working again. Audio input microphone. I got a couple of them, so it's probably two. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Well, that's that working. One thing. Still at. Okay, so we got good. I need a new computer, basically. And software increasements and a bunch of stuff. And I can't get it without a paycheck. It's an oxymoron. Okay, bye. Yeah, so that's that was a question. I knew I was going to get attacked. I knew it was on it's 2 days ago. So whatever. And there's not much I can do. I have to maybe I got to use my newer computer, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's going to do. I have to do something. I'll have to figure it out. It's not a big deal. 2 years of getting able to pay. A doctor that said, basically, anyway, I'm fucked. Proper fucked. Hopefully it'll go. So basically the news of the day, I'm going to look up this liberal plan here. Actually, I should check to see if this is actually working. I'm going to use my newer computer, I guess. Okay. Yeah, the Dell isn't working. Something's glitchy with the software. It's older. I got to get a new one, I guess. I was just in the market for one when they canceled me. I don't really want to have. I don't know why this is even. Oh, wow, it is. Yeah, better. Yeah. So they said that they have the Liberals put out a new housing plan. So I want to see it. I don't know about it. I never heard it. A little housing plan. I know there's no one here. I'm going to do it anyway. So I might as well keep it online when at least I have somewhat of a decent stream. Building Canada strong. $500,000 new homes a year that won't cut red tape, cut taxes for first-time home buyers. Get the government back of building. Oh, back to building. Okay, maybe this is it. Liberal housing plan will build Canada homes to get the federal government back into the business of building homes by acting as a developer to build affordable housing at scale, including on public lands. That should be happening right away. Acting as a developer, catalyzing the housing industry by providing over $25 billion in financings to innovate prefabricated home builders in Canada, including those using Canadian technologies and resources like mass timber and softwood lumber to build faster, smarter, and more efficiently and more sustainably. Providing $10 billion in low-cost financing and capital to affordable home builders. My opinion is they're trying to fix it as a conservative would, have the builders get us out of it, but I think the most unfortunate thing is they made the problem so big with the growth of the population, and at the same time for a decade housing was going down, builds were going down. So I think they got to do something so big, drastic. I agree they do have to do affordable homes. They have to do rental stuff like that. But the landlords are not going to help this country. Like, things as we already know, they're affordable for a while, and then a new government comes in, and then they're no longer considered affordable housing, and then next thing you know, they're just the same price as everywhere else. It's been happening before. It did happen though in the 70s. Canada stopped in the building. They stopped any of these buildings, building for low income, and so it's been a problem. And they have to rectify. They should have that, lower income families, especially, But the conservative answer is I would wish that if they could do it, is the best, is get everyone working, get home prices down, right? There's I see all the homes that are building here, they're 3 stories. They're like 3-story homes. Even the townhouses are pretty big. No backyard. No, I personally would rather an old home than these new builds, but these new ones are big houses. They're way bigger than even the townhouses are way bigger, and there's only like a smattering of townhouses. 90% of them, there's very large homes with no grass. There is a bit of grass. You have to buy a lawnmower still, but they're very tiny lots. Like I said, I personally would prefer an older home lot than the new builds. It's just, they're squeezing them in like sardines, and I don't see the point unless you're near a park. If you're near a park or parkland, well then that's okay. You don't need as much land. If you're near and we do have a lot of parks here, so it does work in a lot of places. I prefer the older, but what's happened is they're trying to, and I'm not blaming the developers on that. It's expensive. Every square foot of land is expensive in Canada right now. That's it. The price of land is so high. That's the biggest problem. So the price of the land being high is the biggest problem. And so the developers have to make it as affordable as they can, and that's what they do. Is they just cut the grass down to like this tiny. It always reminds me of that wonderful Rodney Dangerfield movie when he's doing the dance down in the when his daughter's getting married, and lucky guy, he's all happy, he sings a song, and they show the party scenes, and it's all and it's all packed. They're all packed in the backyard because she wanted to do it in the backyard, and so she goes in the back. They show that scene, and then they show the backup scene. I shouldn't be doing this, but I don't like a mess, and I just lay this. That was a disaster, almost. And so then they show the scene, they pan out, And then it's like these tiny postage backyards, and all these people are packed in this little fenced-in area, and all these houses are so close you can hear everything. Like you can hear them flipping an egg. It's so close. These fucking houses. That was like in '80s movies in the States or something. So it's like common, and it was kind of trying to make that scene was making fun of the working class people. That house, like, look at these tiny, like, it was kind of making fun of that. And, in Canada, we have a lot of land. And, hey, some people don't want the land, and that's where I believe in building the condos. A lot of people that I've seen, they don't want the backyard. They use their backyard once a year. So a condo with a park that you could rent out or sign out is really what it should be. You sign out an area if you're having company, the once-a-year party, you know what I mean, a barbecue area that you can have reserved for you, and then other places like benches and stuff like that for if you just want to go outside and read and sit on a hammock or whatever. That's my belief. What majority of Canadians would be happy and content with, the majority, instead of the housing. But the problem is a lot of times they put these, like, it's a high rise or low rise, and then it's concrete all around. There's no grass space, so people are like, one day they're like, they only got a patio, and they're like, I just want to have some more land. I need a home, and they really don't want the home, the land, and all that. They just want a little piece of grass they could sign out, not just the loft that you can sign out, the piece outside for summertime, right? But that's what I believe they should be working on, is condos and stuff like that people will be content to live in, that people most likely, because that's easiest to solve the problem, in my opinion. Renting is a problem. Yeah, we got to fix that. There's not enough rental properties, and the companies don't have as incentive because they don't make as much to do that. So, it's a part of it, right? So this is part of their plan. Cut the red tape, make it easier to build. Cutting development charges in half. Reintroducing tax incentives, which, when originally introduced in the 1970s, spurred tens of thousands of rental housing units across the country. And that's true. Canada we were building more in the 60s than we are now. And I mean everything, malls and stuff like that. A lot of they say our infrastructure is crumbling because it was built in the 60s. A lot of these high rises and stuff. Canada was really, really a different country then. Now we're on the downswing. It can be shifted, but there's no doubt in my mind, at least, that we're really on the downswing. Like it's we have police corruption, and these things happen. Like when you have a cop being arrested for doxing and giving hitmen and stuff like that, like, you know what I mean, giving information out to hitmen and stuff, like, of their own people. That's the stuff that happens daily. And in Mexico, I don't want to say Mexico as much, but like Colombia, Venezuela, that's why these countries are what they are, because they don't have people that believe in the country over the money that they can get in their pocket, take the money and run, is what the whole country has. And your politicians are corrupt. It's a corruption it starts with, right? And it starts when you don't believe in the country. And you don't believe in the country when you or your family members can't even afford a home without shizing someone over or doing something heinously illegal. Part of it is our culture is going that way. It's getting tainted with the idea that criminal life, thug life, whatever you want to call it, is the way to live. And it's grown. Like it used to be, 5% of the population, 1% were hardcore. And now I say at least 30% of the population believe in the criminal life is a cool way to go and would like to live that way. So what they do is they dabble and they turn blind, against it. And this isn't like new. This happens in every single whole country. It's exactly how it is. And if you don't do anything about it, it's just going to get worse. It really is. Indonesia is a bright spot if you're thinking of moving. Lots of new schools and stuff like that. If you got a decent education, right? Dubai, of course, Qatar is actually growing. Saudi Arabia has huge projects going on there. Hungary has a higher standard of living for middle class than we do right now. Hungary, they don't have anything. They're like a little country in the middle, surrounded by everyone. Right? They're in the center, so that's one nice perk. They don't have gas. They don't have minerals. They don't have much except they're in the center, right? And a great culture, good food, strong people. But they have a higher standard of living. They have a program that we should probably do copy here, is that if you're a single family, you're guaranteed a government loan to buy a home. And you can buy a home there. $100,000 is like a really nice home. You can buy a decent $40,000 home. It's European taps and stuff like that. Their plumbing standards are way lower. It's unnerving, you know what I mean? Oh, it's just a little bit of poo drip. You're like, what do you mean? I'm Canadian. You gotta, but they have that stuff. But they're standard, it's all Europe. I mean, it's not just they have the hot on the one side, the cold on the other, so you burn your hand and freeze your hand. You can get new single units and stuff like that. I'm just making fun of it a little bit, but. So if you're a single family and you promise to have kids, you have to promise the government that you're going to try to have kids. They will give you the loan. They'll guarantee the loan through a bank or whatever of the $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 loan to buy a home for your family. All you got to do is you got to promise that you got to try to have kids. It's just kind of funny, but that's the kind of country that makes you think, I see crime, I want to stop it because I love my country, right? When you have a place where they're like, it's $1 million for the place that literally, when I came back here, which I never should have, it was regrets, I got a fucking few. There was a home for $10,000. $10,000. Okay, no basement, big property, this and that. It was $10,000, okay? Now these homes in the same area are going for $1 million. There's $1 million for homes, for like old homes. $700,000, $400,000 if you're lucky. It'll be on the market for that. That's where we are in this country. So when you have things like that and you see crime, you're like, why? Why am I going to stick my neck out for this place? Right? It's just it steamrolls. And if the government doesn't understand that the whole of society crumbling into a whole country is the middle class, then there's nothing I can get angry about. You can get angry and yell at the wall and say we're going to separate. If you don't have the politicians that are literally saying that we are going to bring the middle class back, and the strong middle class is what keeps crime out the most. Because if I have a factory position, right, if I'm sitting there and I got a factory job, I should just move this so we don't go to black line. And it's a good job, good enough job. I complain about it every day, but it pays, I'm going to tell the criminal who wants me to do something shady to flock off or politely say, no, thank you. Move on, right? But if you're like, I can't get a home, I can't really afford a home, you're going to do it instantly. Or if you're struggling, you got 3 credit cards, you're paying one, you're literally going to say, yes, I will do it because I need to pay these bills, right? And that's the middle class, being the majority, are the ones that can bring crime up and bring crime down. We all know that as usually as you get higher up, they do crime. It's in a politer way, but they do it, and they get away with it because they have the money and the resources. Beyond that, which the police, and they're higher educated, than the average police officer, even though they got the numbers. So this gutting of the middle class isn't just a little problem. It basically crumbles the whole country, and then you be like which we've shown, the as the country falls, other countries they smell what, and they come in droves, and we're seeing it here, and we're not doing anything about it. Foreign interference. There was a meeting today on a meeting. I'm gonna put the highlights up. MP Gary Anasanagari. Oh, I think I said it right. Anasanagari. think I said it right. It's a long name, so it's hard to say. Like it's a tough one. It's simple but tough. And I'm happy. I think I said, and it's Hungary was speaking about the foreign interference, and you have a country that can't handle the foreign interference. Yet another reason why the person is like, if these politicians are taking handouts, why am I not? Why am I gonna, and why am I not gonna steal from this poorer person than me or weaker person than me or whatever? This is it. And then when you realize that, environmental laws go out to the wayside. This is another one. Is a big problem. You go to look at Venezuela. On the left, it's like it's a teardrop lake, water body, and that's like the second city, and that second city has huge amounts of oil there, and you can't go swim in that. It's like there's rusted pipes. It is dilapidated. It is disgusting. And at least the pictures and stuff that I've seen, been around, it's awful. It's awful. So once you have a crumbling middle class, they're not going to fight and they're not going to raise hell, or anyone's going to do anything, because the working class are the ones that work and do this, and the politicians. So then environmental goes down. All these things is all a part of what's happening, and we're seeing it. We're actually, I believe, our politicians, I think some of them are trying, but we're managing the decline. Instead of taking out big loans for the middle class and realizing that is actually going to save the country, it's worried about rich, wealthy investors from other countries who don't give a dang about this country, except they probably like it and they just want to make money, right? The more you get that, we had this before. There's the robber barons in the States. And in a lot of the industrial zones that for like 100 years they were like, bad, were from the robber baron era. It's from these very wealthy people and very poor people. The poor people will cut every tree down to stay warm and pillage the land, and the companies are dumping as they please because no one cares, right? I'm not upset. I was upset. I was really upset because I love Canada. I love it more than I should. And no one seems to be, none of the politicians seem to be really worrying about it. It seems to be everyone's worried about themselves. And like I've seen this before. I literally look geopolitics on a daily basis. It's my beyond hobby. And we're doing exactly what these other countries have done. Indonesia is turning it around. They basically just kicked out 66 huge mining companies that were pulling permits and then cutting trees down because it was beautiful trees and selling the trees. And they're like, well, that's not where your permit was. Yes, you got to clear some land, but you cleared all the land and you made money off of this virgin rainforest, right? Very, very, very highly profitable. And he kicked them out, 66. He went to London before the thing to do it, to let them know. He says, listen, these 66, they're gone. Now they can re-permit. He says they're not banned for forever, but and this is where we're at the opposite end of that in Canada, and we're just starting it. Just starting. We'll just loosen the environmentalism. These companies got to make money, right? Instead of building some tariff walls and helping Canadian middle class build a little bit, we're letting the investors come in and just shark bite us. They're just getting every which way. We're getting the middle class attacked, and then the middle class don't care, which are the base of, you know what I mean. You take out your gut, you got a fat gut like mine, and you know. Anyway, I digress. It's like I said, there's a possibility it turns around, but is there even anyone here? No one's speaking. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.